Welcome to the 80s-est, the podcast that uses your votes to determine the most totally 80s song ever to blare from the tinny speakers of a canary yellow Walkman. In Cleveland, Ohio, I'm Keith Marsteller, and joining me from Seattle, Washington is my longtime friend and the creator and co-host of the 80s-est, Joe Walk. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Keith. I just really quickly wanted to say, no one wants to be defeated. Show them how funky, strong is your fight. It doesn't matter who's wrong or right, just beat it.
I don't know if you want me to now stop the show, or if you that was more a metaphorical beat it.
Oh, but no, it was metaphorical.
All right, well, welcome back to the 80s-est, those of you who survived our pilot and have come back for more. This is, well, what is this? What is this episode about, Joe?
Well, what we're doing here is we're just kind of setting the plate. We are just kind of letting people know exactly what this first region is. We're kind of dipping our toe in. We're going to give them, it's a preview.
Oh.
It's a preview of our first region, which is movies.
Well, then, would you like to just get right to that preview then?
Sure, that sounds great to me.
Man, this podcast is so no nonsense. We don't get caught up in all this, you know, pontification. We get right down to it.
That's because at the heart of things, we don't like talking to each other.
That's a good point.
We just want to get the business.
We've already said everything that could possibly be said between two men.
That's right.
All right, with no further ado, here is your 80s movie region preview. The 80s-est. Side 1. Movie Region Preview.
Alive and well, I see. And still bungling in the dark.
Well, then why don't you enlighten me, Zoran?
You're out of your depth.
You know what it is? It's St. Elmo's fire. Sailors would guide entire journeys by it, but the joke was on them. There was no fire. There wasn't even a St. Elmo. They made it up.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Balboa is so predictable and stupid. Well, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool.
You gotta come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
Wait a minute, Doc. What are you talking about? What happens to us in the future? What, do we become assholes or something?
Neo-maxi zoom dweeby. But if you say you get along with your parents, well, you're a liar, too.
This whole damn mess was a setup from the get.
What a couple of lightweights. What, do you think this is cops and robbers?
Is it about protecting dictators, letting drug dealers go free? Is that it?
Take a look at the map, Crockett. Your brand of law and order went out with Wyatt Earp.
Hey, punk! Cowboy! You're gonna have your badges for this, that's a promise!
Been a long time coming anyway.
This one time, he took us all to the symphony. He said to me, if you close your eyes, you can see the music. You can, too. Did you ever try? See the music.
She's a maniac on the floor. And she's dancing like she's never danced before. Now I gotta cut loose, foot loose. Kick off the Sunday shoes.
There is a time to every purpose under heaven. There is a time to dance. And there was a time for this law, but not anymore. See, this is our time to dance.
Come on, before we crack loose, don't lose. Everybody come loose. Let's hear it for the boy. Let's give a boy a hand.
Thought only pansies wore neckties. Oh yeah, see that? I thought only assholes use the word pansy.
We got you on that one, Jack.
Shut up!
He's my loving one-man show. Oh, 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 oh. Let's hear it for the boy.
You know, the truth is, you're scared shitless of going to that place, aren't you?
I am not.
Yes, you are. And you're using me as an excuse not to go. But you understand? You give up your dream, you die.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond. I trust you had a pleasant try.
Hey, look, you know how you're always talking about how you can simulate all that stuff in your computer? What's the difference? Why can't we simulate a girl?
I don't know. I guess I could, but why? It's two-dimensional on the screen. It's not flesh and blood, Gary.
Well, I know that, but, you know, we can use it. We can ask it questions. We can put it in real-life sexual situations and see how it reacts. Like real sick, demented shit. You'd love it.
Is it real? It's my creation. Ooh, my creation. Why do I know? From my heart and from my hand. Why don't people understand my intentions?
Morning, officers. We're not gonna fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this.
Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
Oh, well, he's very popular, Ed. The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
And there you have it.
Oh my God.
A glorious, glorious preview. Joe, you look speechless.
I feel like I have been magically transported back to age 15.
Right?
So many of those movies just defined my adolescence.
Yes, yes. I'm with you there. There's a few I don't have a strong connection with, and we'll talk about them as we run through.
Yeah.
But several of these I've watched the living shit out of.
Oh,
for
God,
sure.
yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I mean, I think one of the reasons that movies are a region in themselves at all is, like, I mean, I don't know, like, about you, but, like, for me, movies where I first got into, you know, music of my own that wasn't like what my parents had laying around.
Right, okay.
I would go see a movie, and then I would be like, oh my God, that song was so great. And I would go out and buy the soundtrack.
Right,
and listen to it ad infinitum.
And then you'd hear all these other songs. So Yeah, and so that's why we're doing this one first, because it's near and dear to both of us, I think. Whereas the other stuff is just you only have kind of maybe, in our case, like a radio connection to it.
Right.
This one, we went out to the movies, we saw it, we liked some of this stuff, even though now it's objectively some of it's garbage.
Absolutely. There's some real shit here.
Yeah, there is. But there's some stuff that holds up for me or that I still listen to non-ironically.
Absolutely.
So, you guys just heard 16 songs with 16 clips from the 16 movies, and we're going to now kind of tease those out and put them in the order that we ranked them in from 1 to 16, basketball bracket style. And Joe, why don't you start us off? We're just going to go right down the bracket, talk about each matchup a little bit, and move on.
All right. So, right off the bat, we have our number one, which I think both of us have a strong feeling might move on to the next round, maybe?
It's got a shot. That's why it's up here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me from The Breakfast Club, the possibly the most iconic movie from the 80s for Gen X.
Yeah.
And I think that song is so indelibly tied to that movie. You can't separate the two.
It's hard to, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so a John Hughes movie. We have it going up against another John Hughes movie song, and that's Oingo Boingo's Weird Science from the movie of the same name.
Yeah.
Now,
I loved both of these movies, so this is going to be a tough one for me, but we can delve into that in the actual episode of that. But if you had... The other thing these have going for them is they're from the same year, same director. They have one of the same stars.
That's it.
It's kind of crazy. That's really kind of why we shoved them together, to make people choose.
That's right.
They both have 80s qualities about them, which we'll discuss in our actual matchup, I guess. But moving down to the next matchup, it's 8 seed Footloose by Kenny Loggins. That's right. There's a time to dance.
And this is our time.
And, we're kind of Footloose proofing the bracket by putting it up against its movie mate, 9 seed Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams.
So, Denise.
In one sense, we're guaranteeing that a Footloose song moves on, but we're also guaranteeing that 2 don't.
Right. And that's kind of similar to our next bracket, where we have number 5, Maniac by Michael Sambello from the movie Flashdance, going up against Flashdance ... What a Feeling by Irene Cara, also from Flashdance.
Yeah.
So I mean, two movies in a row, 2 brackets in a row that are from dancing movies. They danced a lot in the 80s, didn't they?
They really did. These next 2, I'm not immediately sure of a connection between these 2. Maybe you can help me.
They were the last 2.
These were like, they're kind of leftovers, but a strong 4 seed in St. Elmo's Fire, subtitle Man in Motion by John Parr, against 13 seed Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Now, St. Elmo's Fire is from the movie St. Elmo's Fire, and Eye of the Tiger is from the Rocky franchise. That's the Clubber Lang movie, I believe, which is why...
Rocky 3.
Rocky 3, right? Which is why we have Mr. T saying, I don't hate Balboa, I pity the fool. Is that... I don't know my Mr. T history. Is that where his I pity the fool catchphrase came from? Or was he already pitying fools well before that and he put it into the character? Do you know?
I gotta say, I think it's a chicken and egg type situation.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's where we all heard it first, but maybe it was always in his heart.
I plan on delving into that for that matchup show. That'll be a factoid.
I love the factoids.
In that show. We'll find that out.
So the bracket after that is basically it's a head-to-head matchup between 2 of the biggest performing movies of the 80s, 2 action comedies. We have Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. Going up against The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and The News. And of course, there's backstory there because there was a lawsuit involving both of those performers, and it's just a whole delicious stew of goodness there.
Power of Love, of course, coming from Back to the Future.
That's right, and Ghostbusters coming from out of Africa.
For me, I will get into it more, but for me, I saw Back to the Future many more times than I have seen Ghostbusters. The opposite might be true for you.
In fact, it is.
Yeah. So that brings us down to our next one, which number 3 seed and my dark horse favorite to take the bracket, A View to a Kill, Duran Duran, from the James Bond movie of the same name, against 14 seed For Your Eyes Only, sung by Sheena Easton, from the James Bond film of the same name. So I have only seen one of these James Bond films.
Confession, me too.
I wonder if it's the same one or if it's the opposite. We'll find out.
I don't know. Let's find out when we get to that episode.
When we get to that one, yeah.
And next we have the only 2 instrumentals on this list,
and I think in the entire 64.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah,
I have to go through the list, but yeah, we have number 7 seed, Oh Yeah, by Yellow, used in another John Hughes movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, going up against Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer from Beverly Hills Cop.
Wow. So, yeah, well, we'll get into it. I don't want to start doing the matchups. I do want to start doing them, but man, I do love that Axel F. I like its chances.
You know what? It's a pretty good song.
And then rounding out our field of 16 here in the movie region, we have the mood-setting classic In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins from Miami Vice. This is our TV show that we talked about.
That's right.
In the previous show, against its TV show mate and theme song, Miami Vice Theme by Jan Hammer. Is it Jan, right?
Jan.
Jan.
And there, of course, right off the bat, we're proved to be liars because that's also an instrumental.
That is another instrumental. You're right.
That's right.
So there's 3 instrumentals, but they're all in this bracket, we think.
Yes.
So, Miami Vice Theme, it's a dark horse at a 15, but it is pretty tight. I don't know, but getting around Phil Collins is gonna be tough.
I'm sorry. In the Air Tonight, that's real 80s.
I mean, it's a 2 seed, so for a reason, right? Like that's
absolutely.
There's a reason it's a 2 seed. But just about everything in that bracket exudes 80s to me. Just about.
God, yeah. Yeah, and for me, this was a tough bracket to narrow it down to.
So tough.
A lot of it really had to do with, oh my God, wouldn't it be great to have these 2 songs going up against each other? And so, I think some of the songs that were included are, partly for the matchup.
Yes, and then a couple of my favorites that didn't make it, that I conceded probably shouldn't be in it, I think weren't that popular. We were going to run through a few of our honorable mention songs real quick.
Yeah.
And my first one, I have a real soft spot for the 1983 BMX romance. That's right. It's a BMX romance called Rad. And it's just a transcendent movie. In my opinion, it would be hard to be more 80s than that movie. And we can talk about it more later. But the track that plays when Lori Loughlin allegedly drives her BMX all around the prom, doing BMX stunts in a prom scene, is Send Me an Angel by Real Life. And it's hard to get more 80s than this song, but I also don't think it was very popular. Were you familiar with this song before I started playing this?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I probably couldn't pick the introduction out of a lineup, but I know Send Me an Angel.
Okay. So
it had life beyond the movie.
Sure. And, it's got great moments of, insane insane 80s like electric drums that would just send a chill down your spine. An 80s chill. Like, let's see if I can drop one right here. So yeah, that, I mean, what's more 80s than that? So that's one of my
pretty damn 80s.
That's one of my honorable mentions. Maybe should have been in, but it isn't. You've got several as well. Let's go to one.
I do too. Let's start with from. Here's the thing: it's another one from Footloose, and we only had room really for 2 Footloose songs. And I think the 2 we chose probably the biggest ones from that. But this one was also on the top 40s. It's Almost Paradise by Mike Reno and Ann Wilson of Heart.
Right, Mike Reno of Loverboy.
That's it.
Lead singer, and Ann Wilson. Amazing voice on Ann Wilson.
Oh yeah.
But this has got a lot of ballad going on, and
it is.
I don't know if it's necessarily the most 80s ballad of them all.
I don't think so. I think it could maybe come from the 90s or the early or the late 70s. It's not necessarily
sure
as of the 80s. I gotta say,
yeah.
My sister, who had a big sense of the melodramatic, loved this song.
Sure, I was about to say, if you look at this from the experiential point of view, well, let me let it in the clear for a second. Yes. I was going to say, I cannot, because of when it came out and when we started high school, I cannot count how many different girls I did not dance with to this song.
Dude,
slow down.
No, same. There were so many girls I did not make out with
to this song.
Yeah, so many.
So yeah, that didn't quite make the cut for those reasons. Going back to my side of the Left Behinds, the Kirk Camerons of the group, if you will, a little ditty from the Karate Kid, and yeah, it's Joe Esposito.
Wow.
1984 from the original Karate Kid soundtrack. You're the best. It should have the word around in the title, but it doesn't. That's what people would know it as. Here it is. So it's one of these, like, kind of, it's not quite a Rocky theme, but it's going for that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, if we ever do the 80s montage.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a show right there. We can do
absolutely.
16. We don't have to do 64 of those. But yeah, the montage songs, that is a montage song. That's the training.
100%.
Yeah. All right.
So
this next one of yours, go ahead and defend this while I start it.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Am I going to defend why it almost got in there, or should I explain why it didn't?
Oh, well, let's do both.
Okay. So this was the first probably soundtrack that I bought with my own money, or money that I saved up for my allowance. It's from the 1981 movie Arthur, and it's the theme, Arthur, the Best That You Can Do, by one Christopher Cross.
Yes, Yacht Rock aficionado. Yacht Rock's basically founder, Chris Cross.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the reason it's not on the list is it could come from any time. It's just Yacht Rock.
It feels more 70s-ish to me, but
it does.
However, I recognize that you had an experiential thing with it.
That's right. But there's no real way to. It's not the 80s. It's just not.
Yeah. So.
I will say that before my voice changed, I could sing this.
You
shit
could nail
out of that
this
song.
You could go falsetto, or was that just your real voice back then?
That was just my voice. I had the voice of an angel.
All right, so that is Arthur's theme, Best That You Can Do. I love songs with subtitles in parentheses.
Oh, hell yes.
I just absolutely love that. One of my next ones is from one of my favorite films growing up that's now maybe too problematic to include on there's several things that are problematic, but
it's
the
just
song,
a big bowl of problematic.
the song, that intro is super recognizable as Spandau Ballet's song True. And it's in the dance scene in another John Hughes movie, 16 Candles, from 1984. The John Hughes movie, 16 Candles, has several problems with racism and date rape, and the name of this band is Spandau Ballet, which is problematic because it's named after killing of people in Spandau prison and ballet that they would do as they were murdered. So there's so much problematic about it. That's one of the main reasons I didn't push this song very hard.
Wow, I appreciate that factoid so much. I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were like Nazis, but that's if Spandau Ballet are like loving it, or if they were. I don't know. I don't know.
I can see a Nazi grooving to this song.
Yeah. So, True did not make the cut. Sorry, but
Yeah.
16 Candles. Back before I knew better. I mean, there's still parts of it that are funny. Okay, but there's some really bad. I mean, what is it? Breakfast at Tiffany's. The that
God.
guy. Help me out.
Yeah. It's Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney. It's
doing
not quite
the
that
landlord.
bad because it at least Getty Watanabe, is that the guy's name? Is portraying a caricature of his own heritage. Maybe I think it's still just as bad. Let's be honest.
It's still just as bad.
At least it wasn't a white guy doing it, but it's still pretty bad.
I suppose.
Anyway, we'll move on.
Our next song, I think, is of all of these, it's the one that's not on here because it's too good.
Yeah.
It's just too good.
This transcends time and space.
Absolutely.
For me, this is absolutely one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, and sorry, but people are still, putting this on their radios or on their stereos or whatever their streaming devices.
Yeah.
Because it's awesome.
Right, and I know you're not necessarily the guy that watches every Super Bowl, but his performance of this in the Super Bowl, I don't know what we're up to now, 15 years ago, when it started pouring down rain during it, and he's playing on a glass surface while wearing like 8-inch platform shoes and not falling somehow and just absolutely crushing it, getting soaked.
Because the man was a demigod.
Yeah, so...
Just he was.
So this doesn't belong to any decade, in my opinion, because it's just too goddamn good.
That's right. It belongs to the ages.
That's right. So, give a little bit of... All right. So, anyway, I could listen to that whole song.
Oh, absolutely. The whole album. Sorry, it's a great album.
It's a great album. So then we've got two last kind of songs that didn't make it. One from me, one from you. Both of them are about longing.
Yes.
Mine was popular in 1984 from the soundtrack of the movie Streets of Fire. It's Dan Hartman, I Can Dream About You. If I Can't Hold You Tonight, for instance, because, longing, right? You familiar with this song? I mean, it was pretty popular, I think.
Oh, absolutely. No, I know the song for sure.
Yeah.
And I never saw the movie, but I could put the poster. I could probably draw that from memory because I remember the poster pretty well.
The poster is, it's easily recognizable to me as
Absolutely.
well. But I've only seen parts of this song, but here's the chorus. So, in my formative years, I just got a radio in 1984 at the end of 1983 for Christmas. This was one of the first songs, like the first top songs I knew about. And, but listening back to it, it's, it doesn't have those earmarks necessarily of the 80s. It's not going to win the whole thing, right?
No. I mean, this would be like, in the low, upper 50s probably in a ranking, and just didn't justify a place on the list against all these others.
And your final one that we're
my final one, and
yeah,
it's Phil Collins, and the song is "Against All Odds." It's from the movie Against All Odds.
Yes, and this is a great song.
I mean, I won't defend its greatness. I will say it was used to great effect in the movie The Fall Guy, which was released recently. And there's a great scene set to this.
It was really good. I've seen that as well. They did a great job with this in a karaoke type situation.
Yeah.
The song has some presence to it.
It does. For me, this falls squarely into the "my sister loved this overly melodramatic song."
It's overly melodramatic, right? This is another kind of song that I was busy not dancing with women to.
That's right.
But if I had, then I would have also gotten caught up in the melodrama. But
oh yeah, no. If I had anything even near a relationship, I'm sure I would have.
But the one thing that we can point out though is, I don't know if we mentioned this in the opening, but we're not allowing any artist to have more than one song in our field of 64.
That's right.
So that was one of the things that was also working against all odds. In fact, it was increasing its odds to not make it. It made it against some odds because it had to beat In the Air Tonight, which it wasn't going to. In terms
way in
of
hell.
80s-ishness, right?
Yeah.
So that's just a little taste of some of the trials and tribulations we went through to make this bracket.
It was not easy, people. We put in sweat and blood and tears.
That's right. And, we've got ways for you to contact us on our Substack. And we would love to hear from you guys what movie songs you would have liked to have seen that we didn't put in here. I mean, we're going to ignore you because the bracket's set, but it would be interesting to get some other opinions.
You can put comments on our Substack. You can also email us at the80sist@gmail.com. That's THE, the number 8, number 0, SEST @gmail.com.
Excellent. So we'd love to hear from you guys. But now I think it's time for us to end this show so we can get on to the actual matchups, right?
I think I will say this episode decidedly not spoon size.
No, this is kind of a half of a real podcast. Most podcasts are like an hour.
You need a full bowl for this.
This is pretty much a bowl, but the next one I think will be the bite. So this is when the bite sizers will start. The problem with this is I put a 7-minute region preview in the middle of it, right? So there's 10 minutes with intro, outro, 7-minute region preview.
Right.
And then
were we being self-indulgent?
We indulged also in giving all of our honorable mention songs, and so.
Well, but yeah, I mean, you have to listen to as much as possible of Purple Rain. You just have to.
That's true. It's a true story. But all right, so on to the actual matchups, and we're going to start with our 1v16 in our next show. Okay,
that sounds
Joe?
great. Hey, I just really quickly want to say, to make sure that you don't miss any of these matchups, you should hit like and subscribe.
Oh yeah,
on whatever podcast platform you listen to. Just subscribe. You know you want to.
Yeah, subscribe to the Substack. That will kind of alert you when there's new votes available. Subscribe to the podcast. We're not going to spam you with stuff because we don't have time really to write you
or energy.
I mean, energy. I mean, we're
who has the energy to spam?
Yeah, I don't.
You got to open that can. It's too difficult.
It's just too much. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to be all the time we have for today's show. Join us next time on the 80sist when we will explore our very first matchup. Until next time, on behalf of Joe, this has been Keith saying, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Are you a god?
No.
Then
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!